Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures,
the podcast that fuels your passion for obstacle course racing,
running, and all things adventurous.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or a weekend warrior,
we've got news updates as well as interviews with athletes
and other key members of our athletic community.
As a weekly show since 2017, we have covered everything from
championship and virtual races
to fundraising events and FKTs. And now, here are your hosts,
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Standing on the corner, lost all my clothes.
Hey guys, it's Michael Stefano.
And Caitlin Ritter.
And Caitlin, how was your weekend?
It was good. What did we do this weekend? On Saturday, we went for a run together, but separate.
Yeah, you finally joined me on one of my trail runs.
Yeah, and it was fun, except you called me slow.
Oh, for the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was funny, so it worked out. And then yesterday was the Super Bowl, so you got a little distracted, so that's why we're recording today.
Yeah, well, fair. You didn't watch any of the Super Bowl.
I watched most of the halftime show.
Okay.
And then that's it, yeah. No interest in sports, but yeah, I wanted you to enjoy yourself, and yeah, that's fine. This comes out a little bit later. That is okay.
Well, you wanted to record when we were in the fourth quarter. Like, I watched so much of the game, I wasn't going to miss the Lombardi Trophy.
I could have swore it was the third inning, but you know, that's a joke. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out Mudgear. Use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase. Caterpie. Use code OCRReport20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase. And for your next Spartan Deca or Tough Mudder, use code OCRReport20 for 20% off your next race.
Yeah, and stay tuned because we have another discount code coming up in a bit as well. But before we get to that, let's shout out to our Patreon supporters.
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Bradley Keela, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Laura and Stephen Ritter, Hank and Arlene Stefano, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Johnson, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Logan Nagel, Seth Renderknecht, and Steve Bacon with the New England OCR Expo.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. We greatly appreciate it. And to our home on the internets, the OCR Report, and our Podfather.
You butchered that whole thing.
I figured I'd change it up.
And Will Hicks.
The Podfather. Check it out over at theocrreport.com, as well as our sponsored athletes.
Javier Escobar, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizzalara, Joshua Reed, Kevin Gregory.
Kevin's supposed to be updating these.
People aren't posting. It's the off season.
I guarantee I could look and find updates. We're going to get to some poll results. So
this
you did do a poll.
This is hilarious to me.
Yes. Not many people voted, but that's okay. It said a 60-plus minute trail run. Who fell? 0% of people said neither. 7% of people said Caitlin. 21% of people said me. And 71% of people didn't want to choose a side and said that we both fell once. The correct answer was Caitlin. And the person who guessed that was Will. What happened?
I was running like slightly downhill. I saw that it was icy, so I was taking my time. And then I have like really bad spatial awareness. Mm-hmm. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground.
Yeah. And so I trail run in these woods all of the time. And I have VJs, which we're not sponsored, but I do love my VJs. And I never worry about slipping. I slid like once, but never came close to falling.
I slid multiple times, but I only fell once.
Yeah. And you were wearing your Ultras because you like the wide toe box. So in the search for new shoes for Caitlin.
If anybody has a suggestion, I have a wide toe box and I'm flat-footed.
Fun stuff. We're going to skip meme of the week. Head right on over to quick news, starting with the fact that we're going to be at a hybrid event put on by Mud, Sweat, and Tears, April 19th. Go check the link down below. We will be there. I'm looking forward to covering that event. It should be a good time in Verona, New Jersey, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What do you mean, oh, wow? You knew that.
I didn't realize it was in Verona.
Is that fancy?
It's near, like, Sparta. We could go to the Second Pizza One.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. Also, Obstacle Wonderland. I don't know if we'll be able to make it to that one, but they said that we can use code ADVENTURE, all caps, for 15% off. Discount any race distance. So that's the multi-lap, 1 lap. Go and check that out. That was a really good time when I went there last year. I just don't think I'll be able to do 3 New York, New Jersey trips in a row. Weekend to weekend to weekend. Next up, shout out to Rhea Coble.
Rhea posted best female skimo athlete. Skimo athlete for the 2023-2024 season. Grateful for this award by. Oh goodness!
Wow.
It's not in English. It's the
probably Slovenian.
Paliniskavizes. I don't know.
Can't help you there, but congratulations to her. Next up, I guess, in keeping the theme of Skimo, a quick update from Balin Bean.
Balin posted, decided to give Skimo a go. 2 of the 3 races so far at the summit at Snoqualmie was a blast, and he's 2 for 2 first place.
Wow, good for him. And not too much news, but going to Muddy Princess. They released that they have 3 new obstacles. Fun fact, we covered that, back in 2018 maybe?
You know what my favorite moment was that?
Was what?
Was when Mappy Davis was like, can you do a live unboxing of the swag bag?
Yeah, that's back when we were working with ORM and doing some videos for him. That was very funny.
Do you remember what was in there?
Yes. Like a lifetime supply of Vagisil.
Yep. Okay. Muddy Princess now has 3 new obstacles. The first one, Leap of Faith, is jump on the trampoline and it will catapult you onto the air cushion. That sounds fun. Balance beam, step onto the balance beam and your mission is to walk, shuffle, or gracefully tiptoe your way across without losing your footing. That sounds fun. And a sandbag carry. Grab 15 pounds of a sandbag, throw it over your shoulder, and power through from point A to point B. Wait, these are like my 3 favorite obstacles.
Really? It honestly, I mean, the last one is kind of whatever, because what race doesn't have a sandbag carry? Apparently them, previous to this. But other than that, it looks like Rugged Maniac for women, which is very much a compliment because I love and miss Rugged Maniac.
Is this a balance beam on springs on top of a balance beam?
That's what it looks like.
I need to do this.
Yeah,
this looks so
we'll find
fun.
out where the closest one is. I forget that they're still alive, so that's why I wanted to give them some attention for that. Are they near us anymore?
They have a Boston one.
Maybe.
Oh, it's 5 days before World Stuff is
That's
better.
a no-go. They're also in Maine? They're going to Maine? Nobody goes to Maine. No offense, Maine, but you're way up there.
Does the podcast know I'm running World Stuff is Smarter? Did we ever announce that?
Yep.
Oh. Surprise.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think there were any podiums. If there were, then I'll talk about those next week. But we're going to get right into 5 secret links down below. Go and check those out. But let's get to what this episode is all about. So last episode, and likely a few episodes before that, I mentioned that we should have an athlete who kept showing up in our podium results. So I finally reached out to Chloe Melikian, who is not Melkinian. And we discussed her athletic background, thoughts on changes in the sport, Spartan Elite changes, how the SoCal race went, the kayak carry obstacle that a lot of people seem to be talking about.
What?
Yes. The importance. Well, that's the thing, though. Everyone's given a lot of that's so crazy. Like you weren't there either, but we had to carry bean bags and couches.
I was there.
You were there?
Yes.
Oh, for day 2, for the sprint.
Yes.
That's right.
You're so rude. You don't remember me.
The importance of a strong community with her gym and much more. So let's get to the interview with Chloe. Perfect. So we'll start off with your name and where you're from.
Okay, my name's Chloe Melikian. I'm originally up by Lake Tahoe, but kind of moved around all over the place. I'm from everywhere.
Awesome. So first time having you on the show. Tell me about your athletic background and how you found obstacle course racing.
So I did sports growing up. Cross country was one of my big loves. I played softball, volleyball in high school, and didn't really stick with it. Got out of shape and into other things, not so healthy through my teens and 20s. And then I started getting back into fitness when I got really heavy after having my first child, like late 20s, early 30s. I was double my size and I wanted to do something healthy for me and change my habits and started running again. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I love this. So always been a runner. That's been my biggest sport, I think, through the years, especially trail running, because I love being outside. I love being in nature, and running can take you places that other things can't.
Right. What was the weight loss journey like? Because a lot of people think, running is a big portion of that, but also diet and nutrition. How difficult was it to quote unquote bounce back?
It took me about 2 years. I was up to 220 pounds at my heaviest, and I'm now 121. So yeah, almost double my body weight. I think, I changed what I was eating. I started being more active. I started working for a gym. That's how I actually got back into fitness. I started teaching Reebok Step, of all things. I loved it. And it was so high energy. And I looked forward to it every day and putting choreography together. And it was super fun. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was finding something that I really enjoyed and looked forward to doing. I loved running. I started training for a triathlon. I did my first triathlon when I had my daughter. She was 1 year old when I first did my first triathlon. And so that was kind of neat. So I was finding something fun and enjoyable for me. And it took me there. Before I knew it, I was obsessed, and I had to work out every day, or otherwise I wasn't a happy mom or wife. So.
That's got to be such a big piece of it, because my full-time job is I'm a behavioral analyst, and changing behavior can be really difficult. But if you find something that you love, it makes it so much easier. Like changing diet and stuff like that, trying to find nutritious things that you enjoy. Like if someone tells me I'm going to lose weight from eating grapefruit, which I've heard all the time, grapefruit's disgusting to me. That's not going to work. I need to find something that works for me. Tell me a little bit about triathlon. What was that like?
So the swimming was the hardest part. I've never been a super big swimmer, but I started taking master's classes at the YMCA at like 5 a.m. So I would ride my bike to the gym, which was only about 7 miles. But so I'd ride my bike, get there by 5, be in the pool by like 5:05, freezing cold every morning, swim for an hour, and then bike some more, and then run some more. And it was just a lot of training. My husband was really sick at the time. I had 2 very small children, so trying to balance training and working and kids and husband, it was pretty crazy. I don't know why. I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? That was crazy.
Triathlon is something that's caught my attention for a while, because I've been doing OCR for about 12 years now, and I love it, but the whole like multifaceted kind of fitness of like swim, bike, run, like that sounds like a good time. But the swimming part makes me nervous. I enjoy swimming, but I can't conceptualize like distance of swimming.
Yes. For me, I think, and it was the breathing and just the fact that it's not a practice that I've been in, and I'm not really good at it. So that took a lot of work, but it was fun. I did it once, and I can say, check, done. Probably won't ever do it again.
There you go. So how did you find obstacle course racing?
So in 2012, there was this man, his name is Luis Rigel. He's actually on the podium quite a bit too. He used to train at the gym where I was working at Crunch, and he did weird stuff. And one day I was standing at the front desk, and I finally asked him, I'm like, what are you training for? And he got so excited, and he ran out to his car, and he goes, hang on, I'll be right back. And he comes back with this big box of all these medals. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And he says, it's obstacle course racing. And I'm like, wow, what's that? That sounds so cool. And so he starts talking to me about it, and he says, there's a race this weekend. And this was like on a Tuesday. And I said, okay. And he goes, come do it with me. He says, it's only $75. I'm like, okay. And it was called the Popeye race. And it was in downtown Riverside. And it was kind of like a mud run, but with some kind of army style obstacles thrown in. We had to climb up and over tires. It was on a motocross track. So we were going over the mounds and like through the mud and in barbed wire and just like weird stuff, some carries. And it was super fun. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I get to run, but I get to take breaks and do fun stuff in between. Like, this is so cool. He's like, yeah, they happen all the time. And yeah, and I think the next one I did was the Warrior Dash with him. I got first or second place my very first time out.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. I skipped Spartan for a long time. I remember watching them on, I think it was ESPN2. They used to broadcast like back in the day, like 2014, something like that.
Yeah, way back.
And I used to just think, like what a big ugly monster. Like I want to race the little races and have fun. So I avoided them for a really long time. Plus, I think I didn't feel like I was ready just because I was a good runner, but I wasn't great at the obstacles. So yeah, that was it. I saw this guy training weird, and I was like, what are you doing? And, he told me, and here I am. And we're still really good friends. It's really neat to race with him all the time now. And yeah, be up on the podium with him. I got to share a podium with him in Arizona.
Nice.
So not this past race, but the race before that. So.
That's awesome. He was just like waiting for someone. He might as well have been wearing a shirt like ask me about OCR, but it's like that, right? Like once you're in the community, you're just so excited to share it with more people.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, thanks to him. And I tell everybody, I'm like, it's his fault.
And going to the back to the Popeye run or whatever that was, what is the local scene like in OCR over there? Because I know in the Northeast here we're struggling a lot more than we used to. I'm part of like the New England OCR Expo board. We're trying to like get people back into it and supporting local races. How has the local scene been where you guys are?
It's been interesting to watch it change over the years. At first, there were a lot of like little races, but over the years, they've been eaten by Spartan. One by one, they have disappeared. Rugged Maniac, Warrior Dash, a lot of little mud runs. We still have a few. There's the Camp Pendleton mud run, which is the Army base. They put on a mud run every year. Due to COVID, they closed down the base, but I believe that last year and this year is the first year that they're reopening to the public. We have some local mud runs that are kind of fun, and they are like truly just mud. Like it's just tons and tons of mud, and it's so fun. But as far as choices for obstacle course racing, there are none. It is Spartan or it is nothing. And I find that kind of sad. At the same time, I'm happy that Spartan is still around. Otherwise, I don't know what I would do with myself.
Right.
So, and we have a lot of options. I feel like on the East Coast, there's not as many races as there are, especially for California. We have probably, a third of the Spartan races just here in California.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate. I can drive to most races.
Yeah. So it pretty much sounds like you guys are dealing with the same thing that we are here. I know that like the middle of the country seems to have some local OCR surviving, which is good in pockets, but I also know Spartan isn't as big there too. So, correlation there. But yeah, it seems like every few weekends there's another race in California. It's ridiculous. You guys definitely have a lot of races there.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm like, I race every other weekend.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I'm very jealous of your background too. I wish you could see outside in my house, but we just got like a foot of snow. What's the temperature there like now?
Oh my God. It's beautiful. It's 81 degrees. There's a light breeze. It's pretty perfect.
Very jealous.
Yeah. I'm sitting right outside my house. This is my shared yard. We live in like a quadruplex. So we have a big wide open space that we share as neighbors, and it's pretty cool.
But for those listening, it sounds like she's on like the set of like Jurassic Park with like beautiful palm trees and
Yeah. Well, my neighbor has all kinds of birds and stuff, so we get to wake up to that. It's pretty neat.
Nice. To learn a little bit more about you, like what's your favorite distance when it comes to running too? Because I know Spartan has the sprint, super, the beast, but what's your favorite distance in general?
Probably the 10K, the super for the Spartan. I'm not a sprinter. I'm fast, but I'm not that fast. I'm more of a grinder. So to have that little bit of extra distance, to be able to make up for when I miss my stupid spear, because it's the only thing I ever miss. Oh, it drives me nuts. Is good for me. But the sprints I have a hard time with. They're a little too fast. I'm not really a sprinter. I like the beast. I just have had so many injuries with my body over the years because of what I do. And I don't know, I hit like mile 9 or 10 and my body's like, why are we doing these extra miles? We should be done by now. So anything that's like 2 hours or less, we're good.
Fair. And then you mentioned that the spear, which drives a lot of people crazy. What are some of your favorite obstacles seeing out in the course?
I love Twister. I love Beater. I love the multi-rig. I wish they would bring the ropes back. I think it's so dumb that they took them away on the beast. I like Mount Olympus. I love all the obstacles, actually. Like, I think the obstacles are fun. I'm like, ooh, I get a break from running for a second.
Yeah.
Let's play on the playground for a minute and catch our breath, and then we can run again.
It's funny, too, because that's how I got into running. And I feel like a lot of people fall into the same situation where they do obstacle course racing, like run to the obstacle, enjoy yourself, run to the next obstacle. Now I'm like, I like ultras. I like ultra trail races. And it's funny how, like, I did not enjoy running before, but OCR has a tendency to kind of do that to you. Speaking of obstacles, I saw that, and this might have just been in the more recent race, but I heard that the Z wall was transitioned back into a regular traverse wall. Is that true for the SoCal race?
Yes. So yeah, it was just a straight wall, which I thought was really strange because the corner and not being able to see where your next grab was part of the challenge. So yeah, for the SoCal race, it was just a straight wall. They changed up the grips a little bit. Some were still horizontal, some were vertical on the foot too. So that was like a little bit of extra challenge that I think people hadn't seen before. I'm fortunate enough to have a gym where they make everything super, super hard. So when we do the Spartan obstacles, I'm like, whatever.
That's great.
But yeah, so it was just it was very odd. And the wood was rough, so there was more grip to it, if that makes sense. It had a little more grain to it. It wasn't quite as slippery as the other Z-Wall.
What was like the overall sentiment of that? Were people like to complain, but were most people complaining about it? Did they address it and say like, this is something new that we're going to be going back to, or something old we're going back to?
I didn't really hear a whole lot of feedback about the Z-Wall, and they had it set up there in the festival area for people to try for the new format. I did hear quite a few people say it was much easier. But other than that, no, I didn't hear a lot of complaints. I complained because they put on Stairway to Sparta, they put a lip all the way across the bottom for the Beast and the Super. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Like, wasn't that part of the challenge, is to have to jump and catch the grip and pull yourself up? But now you can actually just stand on the lip and grab the hold. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I think those were the only two that they really changed. And besides the spear having the target.
Right. What are your thoughts? I hear, burpees coming back. What are your thoughts on being in the sport as long as you have to? Like, what are your thoughts on burpees versus the penalty loops for Spartan?
I understand why they did it, because they're having a hard time finding enough volunteers, and there's too many variables, especially when you're trying to judge burpees, especially if it's a very large competitive race. So to make a loop as a penalty makes it a lot easier to judge. There's a lot less that you have to go back and look at if there is somebody that says, I did my burpee, but they didn't, whatever. But I do have to say that sometimes on some of the races, the penalty loops aren't a penalty. They're actually easier. People can do the penalty loop just as faster than they can do the obstacle. So if you're going to make it a penalty loop, make it a set distance, maybe a quarter mile, maybe through some terrain that actually challenges you, that slows you down to make you want to really make the obstacle. Burpees on the spear, I think, is great. But make sure that you have a judge there, because they don't. And so it's very, you could do two less, or you could do two more, and whatever, and nobody would know the difference. So if you're going to bring the burpees back to certain obstacles, just make sure that you have, 2 or 3 volunteers there, or judges that are actually watching it. But yeah, I think it's great. I think burpees are a lot harder than the penalty loop, unless you make the penalty loop a set distance.
Right. Yeah, it does a good job of incentivizing the obstacle, but I completely agree. It's very hard to enforce a penalty, and then we see penalties on top of penalties, which is just kind of seems foolish a little bit. I was hearing reports of not many volunteers there, at least for the age group waves later on. How was the officiating for the elite wave that you ran?
There were some obstacles that still didn't have anybody on them. Honestly, they were pretty easy obstacles that not a lot of people failed. But still, if it's a competitive race, then there should be someone there watching. The weather was kind of nasty on the second day, so maybe that was the reason why they didn't have as many volunteers out, because it did get pretty cold. On the first day, it actually got kind of cold and windy later in the afternoon. So I don't know, maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, maybe. Let's get into your races in particular. So how did your races go?
Oh, great. That was so fun. I loved it. Funny, because last year I didn't do so well. But this year I felt strong. I've been training. It was funny because at the end of the race on the Beast, he asked me, he says, well, what did you do in your off season? And I'm like, what off season? Like, I don't have an off season.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep racing, especially because we got weather like this.
Right.
So going into it, I felt really good. And yeah, I kind of didn't start so fast and hung back a little bit and kept my eye on the leaders. And after the first couple obstacles, I was in first and never saw him again. So, and I didn't miss anything. I hit my spear and everything. I had a perfect race. And that was it. Yeah, I was trying to finish under 2 hours. I'm like, come on, we got this. Fast race.
That's great. What are your thoughts on the changes made with the spear now having like the more specific target?
I think it's great. I think the harder they make the obstacle, the more people are incentivized to practice and to actually work at it if you want to be good at it. I know that's the one thing that I practice probably more than anything else. I carry a spear around in my car. I have a tree right out back that I practice on. Every time I'm at the gym, I make myself do at least 50 throws. I'm still not great at it. Still like probably a 70-30% for me. But whatever. I mean, I definitely work at it harder, especially now that there's burpees, because those take longer than the penalty loops, and that's a really crappy way to lose a race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then what are your thoughts on the changes with the competitive waves? So I know you're very familiar, but the people listening, it was, elite and age group. Last year they just had competitive, and this year they've gone back to separating the two. What are your thoughts on those changes?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, yeah.
I'm kind of that level that's in between. I'm a little too old to hang with the girls that are in their mid-20s and at their prime. I can probably still finish top 10, but I'm not like Nicole Miracle style.
Right. Which I'm not either. I mean? So.
Nobody else is. That's why she's a world champion. But so when it comes to having to choose whether to race elite or whether to race age group, it's kind of hard for me. And it was really nice last year not to have to make that choice. So for somebody like me, just having competitive and open was refreshing. And it was just like, okay, cool. This is how every other race that you do is. You show up, you do your very best. If you make top 3, awesome. If not, then it's broken down into age categories. This year, I was very surprised to see that they went back to elite and age group. I was disappointed, especially since they're not incentivizing you to train and to be on an elite level because they're not paying you. So what's the point? Because I could very easily, my gym pays me if I get first place. So I could easily drop to age group and just race easy and get first place, like no problem, and not have to train so hard and not have to push so hard. But then for me, like my insides don't let me do that. So I don't like it. I'm sad. If it was incentivized and if we had prize money or something to work for, then sure, go for it. But if you're not going to offer that, that's why there's nobody in the elite heats. They're so small. So small.
Absolutely. That seems to be what I've been getting from the majority of the competitive athletes is having to make that decision definitely ruins some of the fun of it. Like, oh, do I race age group? No, you just race. And it takes some of the thinking out of it and you race the people that you're up against. I did hear that there was a little bit of complaints of like figuring out what waves athletes go into, but that's something that I feel and a lot of the people that I've talked to felt that they could have worked on that, but still kept a system that they just tried a year and they're already changing back. But it's kind of typical Spartan of like try something and then switch to something else immediately after. And I'm a little disappointed at the lack of consistency too, because it is difficult to see the elite field take such a hit and start to be more empty. And there's still amazing athletes out there like yourself, a lot of really great East Coasters over here too. But with such small waves, it's like I feel like you're not giving the credit that you deserve for a lot of athletes.
It's a weird energy. You're standing on the start line with 5 other women, and you're like, okay, as of last year, it's packed.
Yeah.
The whole corral is packed and you don't know who's racing against you. And you don't know if somebody in the wave after you is going to go faster. And I use that to my advantage a couple of times because I'm like, I don't want them to know my pace. I don't want them to know if I miss something. I don't want them up my butt. I'm going to start a little bit later and I'm just going to race my best race. And it worked. So that was kind of cool. I was like, well, I don't know. So I'm not happy with the change unless they were offering prize money. That's the only reason why I can see that they would have.
Yeah, they are now finally, at the very least, offering free race codes for getting podium position. Is that correct, though?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't gotten anything.
Lovely. Okay. I had a little bit of optimism there, and that's what I get for it. That is good to know. Well, that's the change that they were supposed to make this year. So.
And I bought a season pass, so.
And that's that's the other side of things too. Most elites, if they race a lot, have a season pass. So that's not something unless you're gonna just like sell the code, which I guess is a weird way to make money. But it's kind of a bummer to see like the rise of the competitive field and then them just have less interest in it. And I understand, and most people understand that the majority of the money that they make is from the open waivers. But for the sport, you have to pay attention to the top as well.
I believe so. Yeah.
So you think that if they went back to how things were last year, and any other changes that you would like to see made with the competitive field?
No, I know they tried the pro bands, but that didn't really, I didn't even get mine. I was like, I don't care. Because it really didn't make any difference. But I thought they did a good job last year. I would have liked to see them stick with that at least another year or two to try to like build up. There were a lot of women that I know personally that were in open, and I'm like, come on, girl, like you can totally race and you could probably podium on your age group, like go competitive, like push yourself, find out what you can do. And so they weren't as scared to step into that space as they were when it was split and it was, very categorized. It was just you compete or you don't.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see. It was a lot of women that were in open step up to competitive, and they're doing great. I'm like, see, you never know until you try. So I hope that continues.
Yeah, and with the smaller elite group, if there's only like 6 women on the start corral, I can only imagine the race intimidation. You have a spotlight on you, essentially. And to a lot of people, that could be really overwhelming. But if it's a big crowd, that makes it more accessible for people. It gets everyone to race better because there's more tactics when you're running with other people. It was a win-win-win across the board. And that's why I was so shocked that Spartan had kind of gone against themselves with that already. But
yeah,
fun stuff.
3 races in, we'll see. We've got Arizona coming up this coming weekend, Valentine's weekend. So see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's interesting because on their website, when you look up like the descriptions for the different waves, it says prize money, but I have heard nothing of prize money. So
yeah, they're consistently inconsistent, I guess. Very frustrating.
So we'll see.
Going back to obstacles, I heard some grumblings from that race and people talking about how the box obstacle was getting retired. Did you get to hear anything about that?
Did we do the box? I don't think we did the box.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it was there.
It's not an obstacle I'm very good at, so I don't mind it going away. But at the same time, it's like one of the few obstacle innovations they've had for a while. So it'd be good to if they kept that around.
Yeah. Funny. Yeah. No, I didn't even think about that. But no, I don't think it was on course.
Huh. And then for the SoCal race, was that also the one where they had the kayak carry?
Yes.
So was that
interesting?
Was that part of a sponsorship deal? Because for us in the Boston race that we had to carry, not lazy boy couches. Oh, some love sack. So that's like those beanbag things. We had to carry those instead of like another obstacle. So was it a sponsorship opportunity? What was that like?
I don't know, so I don't want to give you false information. Okay. I didn't remember seeing any logos. I remember in the past when we've done like the tire flip or anything that has to do with a specific carry, you can clearly see the brand.
Yokohama, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing a brand on the kayaks. They were just these big green cumbersome things that were odd to carry, but yeah.
So if it was a sponsorship thing, they did a bad job at it.
I would say yes, because I honestly don't remember hearing anything about the brand for the kayak. I don't remember seeing the logo. So
interesting. Yeah. And then racing for the amount of time that you have been, what are some of your favorite moments, like favorite victories, favorite races that you've had?
Well, 100% was my 100th Spartan race. Okay. There were a lot of reasons why it was really special to me. And it was just last year. Yes, last year, beginning of the season, Dodger Stadium. My husband had passed away, and he was the biggest Dodger fan I've ever met. So just to be racing in that stadium was like a huge thing for me. And to have it be my 100th Spartan race, and only because I raced 19, we didn't race in 20, 21, 22, 23. So 4 years of Spartan racing, podiums left and right, and like I said, I'm not a sprinter, so I was a little nervous, and it meant a lot to me. So I really wanted to be on the podium. There were some fast people out there. Faye and I are always like right there together. Faye Morgan, look up to her so much, and she's been one of my main driving forces. So she was on the starting line with me. There were a lot of people. My whole team showed up. There were so many people from our team. I think we had one of the biggest teams for that race. So that was really neat. I had friends come out and do their very first Spartan race for that race. Yeah, so went out fast. I won. I couldn't believe it. Probably by a chance because Faye took a wrong turn. She followed some guy that was in front of her and went the wrong way, and it saved me right at the very end. So that was probably the most memorable race for me. I will never forget my very first Spartan race at Prado Regional Park. It's really local. It's only like 30-minute drive for me.
Oh, nice.
It's where we used to do the Warrior Dash, and then Spartan took it over. And so I love that venue, raced there a lot. And I made top 10, and I raced some of the women that I still see out there today and that are now like world champions. And I'm like, wow, I did 120 burpees on my first race because I didn't know how to do obstacles. I was just a really fast trail runner. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was racing with another gal who I really love. She's the founder of Platinum Personal Training, and Nicole Kiefer.
Yeah.
And we got to talking. So I met her on course, and then I'd fall off an obstacle and she'd be gone, and I'd be doing my burpees, and then I'd catch up to her and start talking again, fall off another obstacle, and same thing, like back and forth. She goes, wow, you keep catching me. I'm like, yeah, I can run fast, but apparently I can't do any of the obstacles. I didn't even know how to climb a rope. It was horrible.
That's funny.
It's pretty funny.
Going back to the Dodgers Stadium, I've always found the stadium races very special to me. We have Fenway by us, also Citi Field that I'll often drive to. And I'm not even like a big sports fan at all, but it's something special about having an event like that, other than the bottlenecks with like the running through the stands and stuff like that. I've always really enjoyed those races.
Oh yeah, they're so fast. They're so fun. And there's a grandism that you feel just being in that space where they've been played, well, especially at Fenway, where people have been playing for close to 100 years.
Long time. Yeah, the history of it's really cool. And just hearing the people on like the loudspeaker, like in a typical, even a sprint, when you go away from the venue, you are out there, which is its own fun, adventurous, but like being in a stadium and hearing the announcements and everything like that it's really cool. And being on the podium and
your
having
friends up on the Megatron, you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I'm not too familiar with who the mascot is for the Dodgers, but like having them there for like the award ceremony and all that stuff, I think is really, really fun.
Oh yeah, there's such fun races. And I tell people all the time, I said, if you're going to do like Spartan for the very first time, do it like Dodgers or Angel Stadium. I said, you'll have so much fun. And you don't really have to fight the elements like we do when we're out at other venues. If you're a sports fan, like it's such a great opportunity to see parts of the stadium that you probably wouldn't otherwise. I enjoy the aspect that it's a good mix of strength and speed because it is so short and fast, but then they have like the heavy jump rope and they have a couple different heavy carries. And then all the stairs. I love the stairs.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy that too. One of my biggest OCR regrets, I guess, was back in the day when they used to have different specific medals for each stadium race. They had like a green monster green one for Fenway and I wish I was a broke college student when I first found OCR, so I wasn't able to get to all the places, but I wish that I checked out all the venues back then.
Oh, that would have been cool to like do a collection of all the different stadiums. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about how like the sport's going on overall there. But what about the other like the training side of it? So I saw the Wolf's Den in your bio. Tell me a little bit about them.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. It's the best gym ever. I don't know where I would be without Diego Brisson. Like he's helped me so much. COVID was weird for all of us, man.
Yeah. Especially in California. Similar to us in Massachusetts, but yeah.
So everything was closed. I'm a group fitness instructor and a personal trainer. And so I was used to working out all the time. And I'm like, well, what do I do without my gym? Granted, I spent a lot more time running and I had a lot more time to like venture out to new trails and stuff like that. But I stumbled across them and I was so happy that they were still open. I was like, oh my God, I get to go and train. And and they have all the obstacles that I've been struggling with. Because like I said, I just started Spartan in 2019. So to go and like perfect my technique on each individual obstacle was so cool.
Yeah.
So I was there every day, 5 a.m., working really hard. And then right when Spartan came back around, I started podium almost every single race. I was at least, third place, if not first. And so they made a huge difference in my career, especially through Spartan. They push us harder. They're more like American Ninja Warrior based, so ninja style training. They make me do things that I don't want to do, which is good for me.
Yep.
Can't is a bad word. We don't say it. Otherwise, you got to do 30 burpees.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So yeah, I think they're great. The energy is good. It's so cool to see families working out together. Parents get to bring their little kids, anywhere from like 5 and up, sometimes younger, and watch these little kids just fly. They're so crazy.
Yeah.
So good. So it's so neat to see the next generation coming up too, and watching families work out together and build that really unbreakable bond, and that fitness for life. It's, the lifestyle, and I just think it's such a neat place. There's nothing like it.
That's great. The future.
I'm very proud of my
Yeah, no, as you should be. That the future of the sport very much relies on the community, and it sounds like it's places like that are going to be hugely helpful for the future of the sport. Like you said yourself, like seeing kids, whether it's them starting off with ninja and hopefully they get into running, maybe some interest in OCR later, but like that is very much the future of the sport. I also saw in your bio that you're an OTF coach. What does that mean?
I work for Orange Theory Fitness.
Oh, okay. Hence the orange. I get it now.
Yeah. I've been with them for going on 8 years now. And I think it's great. Like I ran my fastest 5K after training there for 1 year. I ran a step 25K at 38 years old.
That's great. I've heard really good things about them. I've heard that they're expensive, but like it's very much worth it. I've heard good things.
Yeah, but I mean, not really. It's all comparative, right? Like if you're going to go out and get a personal, it's all relative. Excuse me. If you're going to go out and get a personal trainer, how much are you really getting for your money? Whereas you can have a personal trainer, but you still get to work out in a group setting, and it's all interval speed work. Yeah, rowing, weights. That's crazy.
And then I also see MTB.
Mountain biking. So I hope to do my first downhill mountain bike race this year, now that I have some good health insurance, just in case I break myself.
That's always very important as well. And then I see yoga, which most people are very familiar with, Zumba. How do you describe Zumba to people? Just like high energy dancing, kind of?
Yeah. I call it fit dance. Well, I'm not Latin, and it's funny because I have Latin women in my class, and they're like, "Where's the salsa? Where's the rumba? And where's this?" And I'm like, we're just working out. Like this is just fit dance.
Yeah.
So every instructor has their style, and you get to pick your own music. Obviously, it's choreographed, and we have to stick to the choreography. But I think it's so fun. I sweat way more in Zumba than I do running. And it's hard, and it's your brain working with your body, and it's invigorating. It's fun.
Speaking of difficulty too, some people like to make fun of yoga and like, oh, it's not very difficult. It works muscles that you don't typically work. Yoga is like a great workout. Yeah,
it's so hard.
If it's easy, you're doing it wrong.
Well, so there's different styles, right?
Fair.
And it also depends on the instructor that you get. Every instructor is different. Every class has a different pace. I teach power yoga, so more for strength and for overall mobility for athletes. That's my style, but everybody has their own style.
And then what is pound?
So it's a really fun class too. It's very lightly weighted drumsticks, and it's all set to choreography, but it's all Pilates based, but it's very much like HIIT training. So you start slow and then you pick up the pace and then you recover. You start slow, you pick up the pace and then you recover. But it's a lot of coordination. It's timing. It's drumming to music and movement. And It's super fun.
That's how I've never heard of that in my life, but that does sound like a lot of fun.
Oh, it's really, really fun. So if you ever find a class near you, you should totally try it out.
I could just imagine like epic, like taiko, Japanese drumming and stuff like that.
Oh,
That's
I
fun.
call it mommy anger management. I'm hitting the ground hard. I've broken a few sticks. Yeah.
Love it. And then talking about like the future of the sport and youth and stuff like that. What is it like being like an elite competitor out there as a mother? Like how old are your children? Like, do they look up to you? Do they understand like what you're doing?
Yes. Like I said, I've been doing it since 2012, so they've been watching me for a long time. They don't want to do it. My daughter's 14, my son's 16. My daughter's in volleyball and she likes to skate and she mountain bikes with me every once in a while. My son's not the most athletic kid. Very strong. He likes to weightlift with me, but that's about it. But they see how broken mom is and they see how hard she has to work. So honestly, they're like, nah, it's not for me, mom. Thanks. I'm like, okay.
That's fair. But at least, they're both into like fitness and just know that like that's, I don't know, it's got to be inspiring one way or the other.
Yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Love it. So starting to come to a close a little bit, what do you have planned for the rest of the year now? You said that, I think you said Arizona or some races coming up soon.
Yeah, so, well, I race almost every weekend, but this year my main focus is the World Championship since it's here in the States and I don't have to travel all the way to Greece. I was very disappointed. I made the trip to Greece this past year and I had suffered a back injury not too long prior to leaving. I did really good on the first day. I did pretty good on the second day, but it started to hurt. And by the third day, I was just wrecked. So that was really disappointing. So I'm like, this year going back to West Virginia, my goal is to just crush it for the age group for the World Championship. So that's my main focus. I've kind of switched some of my training to work in reverse order because that was different too, having to do the shorter distance first and finish with the longer distance. It's a different toll on your body. But yeah, that's the main goal. I would really like to get out to the East Coast and do a Savage race. They look like so much fun, and I want to do all the different obstacles. I've been doing Spartan for a while now, and it gets a little repetitive. So to do something different would be really cool. So that's a goal. They do come out to Texas. I keep bugging them. I text them on Instagram all the time, like, hey, can you come a little farther west, please?
No shortage of messages from what I've heard about the Savage staff. No shortage of messages of wanting them to expand westward.
Yeah, and I've raced Rachel Waters quite a few times. Like, there's a lot of, I just met in person Jess Shepard. She was in Greece and we got a chance to talk for a while. So it'd be really cool to like make it out there and race some of the East Coast people. I would really like to turn that West Virginia trip into duo because one of my aspirations is to do the Ultra in Killington.
Okay.
So if I can turn around from the World Championship and go straight to Killington the weekend after, that would be really cool. But we'll see.
How many Spartan Ultras have you taken on?
2.
Okay. Yeah, I know that Spartan Killington. I'm going to be doing my first Spartan Ultra this year. I'm going to do it in New Jersey because Killington, I've done it a few times and it takes a little piece of my soul every year. I couldn't imagine doing the Ultra there. But yeah, very intimidating. But Killington is such a beautiful and historic in terms of like Spartan venue too. So,
and I've never been out there, so that would be my first race, and I want it to be the Ultra.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. As for Savage race, I would advocate for, oh God, was it Maryland or I think the Pennsylvania race was a very cool venue. The Boston race that we have here, I will say, isn't at the best venue, so I definitely wouldn't travel all the way to that Savage. And going to the back injury, what was the extent of that? Because I was recently in urgent care for a potentially herniated disc, which is not fun. Yeah,
that's exactly what mine is. I injured myself in 2020, same thing, herniated disc. And then I was in a car accident like 3 weeks prior to the World Championship, and it kind of like tweaked it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I tried to do some therapy before we left, still just not feeling it. Just having a hard time. And yeah, obviously going into such a big race at such a high level, just my body just wasn't there. So
yeah. And to those that haven't had the chance to experience back issues, it affects everything to your sleep, walking, everything that I did hurt. I would stand, I would hurt. I would sit, I would hurt. I would lay down, it would hurt. So that's going to be very frustrating. But I am also very excited that the Trifecta World Championships is coming here. I never had the chance to go to Greece. I've always wanted to. I actually saw that you had did you have a vacation there somewhat recently too?
Yeah, so my beautiful man and his dad made that whole trip possible. And it was a freaking blast. I had so much fun. Racing, obviously, I was disappointed, but at the same time, our friend loaned us his truck and his scooter, so we got to scooter around and see a lot of things that I feel like a lot of people don't get to see. We didn't really make any plans. We just were like, we'd pick a spot on the map and like, let's go here. Let's go see this and let's go see that. And it turned out to be perfect and just such a unforgettable experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I just went to Italy for our honeymoon, and I've always been between like Italy and Greece in terms of like the history and all that stuff. It'd be very cool. But the fact that it's amazing. Yeah, the fact that it's coming to West Virginia, I'm hoping that this will be my first time going to that event too. So hopefully I'll meet you there in person. But the Trifecta World Championships is like, it's very exciting and very different from all other like events, with it being like almost like a stage race kind of thing. That it should be a good time because there's going to be some great athletes going there.
I really hope to see some of the things that they had in Greece and West Virginia, because the obstacles were definitely harder. The carries were heavier. The penalty loops were brutal. Yeah, and there were some obstacles that I had never done before. One was like that. It was like a balance beam walk, but me being the unprepared athlete that I am sometimes, I didn't read all the rules, so I didn't know that you couldn't like put your hand down on the beginning part of the step. And I touched it, and everybody's like, penalty loop. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was a horrible long penalty loop with a heavy carry. But yeah, the monkey bars in particular were very far spaced. It was almost a lache, and it was staggered. So it made it really difficult. And it was right there towards the end. What else did they make harder? There were a couple obstacles that I remember doing. I'm like, man, this is like, Twister it was like a Twister monkey twister.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The carries were definitely heavier for us. So yeah, I hope that they take some of what the Greece World Championship is and bring it to West Virginia, just to give us something different.
Yeah, I think that'd be hugely important, because it sounds very much like that's more European racing, where it's like more emphasis on the obstacles and heavier weights and stuff like that. But if it's going to be a World Championships, they should keep that aspect of it. And I think that'd be fun. Oh,
yeah. So fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
And then a shout out to sponsors or any people that you'd like to thank. I saw Toyota on there. So
for my gym, because without them, there's no way I could race as much as I do. I'm a single mom. I work full time. Like, I'm barely making it, but especially living in California. Every time I get on the podium, my gym pays me $100. So that's pretty cool. I have to win, though. I have to get first. I can't get second. I have to get first. So we are sponsored through Toyota of Redlands, Bergensons, and now San Manuel Indian. So we have 3 sponsors. They not only sponsor the athletes that run, but the low-income families that maybe can't afford the gym. We give free memberships. We help with memberships. So it's accessible to everybody, which is really, really neat. So I'm really proud of them. My Orange Theory family, they sent me to South Carolina, what was it, year before last, for the national series. Not only did I win the national series in my age group, but I won overall. Like, I had the most points out of anybody, men and women.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Because I got to do all the races, and then I don't know, there's just so many people that have helped me along the way. I really feel like I have a beautiful community of friends, and all the gyms that I worked for. And if I say I want to do something, they all come together and figure out a way to make it happen for me. And I'm so grateful. It's been really, really a cool experience. I'm glad I found something I enjoy so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then where can people follow you and Wolf's Den on social media?
So mine is at Salcema, so SALCEMA. That's my kid's last name, and I'm their ma.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
And then the Wolf's Den is at the Wolf's Den and then Empire. You can find them their link is in my bio too. Yeah, it's a great gym. I really am thankful for all the training I've done there. I believe that it has taken me to the next level. Otherwise, I wouldn't win as much as I do. It's really cool to have a perfect race and just be like, oh my gosh, I made it through everything. Like, no problem. So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your most recent victory, the victories to come, and the many victories you've had so far. Looking forward to hopefully meeting you at Trifecta World Championships. And thanks for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you, Michael. It was beautiful to meet you. Nice to talk to you. And I'll see you in West Virginia.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Chloe Melikian. I look forward to pronouncing your name properly in the future. Also, hopefully meeting you at the Trifecta World Championships. I have to triple check that I am free that weekend, and we can go and cover that.
You know what I'm going to do the whole time we're there?
Sing that song, West Virginia.
Yep,
that is totally fair. 4 related episodes-ish. I guess I don't have a lot of West Coast athletes on the show, but episode 386, Hot Call on Growing Up in OCR, Big Bear National Series Race, Preparing for Broken Arrow, and more. And episode 403, bringing them back again, Balin Bean on Finding OCR, Qualifying for Elite, Winning Spartan Pan American Championships, and more. And there might have been more before that, but that's all we had from last year.
Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are Obstacle Running Adventures on all of the podcast players. If you like what you heard, leave us a review on that purple podcast app. And if you didn't like what you heard, you could be kind about your comments.
That's true, too. You can support us over on social media, like and follow us, all that fun stuff. But more than anything, share the show with a friend. That is how we grow. That would be massively important to help downloads, make all this effort that I put into the show for 8+ years worth it. And you can also support us financially over at patreon.com. Join via the website and not on the app because Apple will charge you extra, and that's not worth that.
Coming up next,
we just got a book in the mail, and Caitlin's going to read it and do a little interview with the author, which I think will be good.
Well, because the last book we did, I did the interview, and she said it was one of the best interviews she had.
Yeah, Gwendolyn Bounds was very kind. So thank you, Gwen.
Do you think she was just being kind, or do you think she was being sincere?
You can be both.
Oh, okay.
Caitlin, do you have a joke or a quote to close us out?
I do. My quote is, go out and fall in love with nature, discover something new, delight in what you find, and let it remind you that there is more out there. Then my quote is, why do forks feel left out on Valentine's Day?
Why?
Because everybody wants to spoon.
Nice. Okay.
You don't fork.
No, I...
What?
It sounds similar to...
Oh, Michael! We don't speak that way.
Well, that just about wraps it up. My name is Michael Stefano.
My name is Caitlin Ritter.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you're feeling motivated, inspired,
And ready to take on your next race or training run.
If you've enjoyed this week's episode, leave us a review
and share it with your fellow adventurous friends.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Obstacle Running Adventures.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Join us every week for more news,
Stories and interviews from the community.
Our intro song was Streaker by Straight Up.
Our outro music is Iron Paw by The Best.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Hopefully everything got resolved on your side.
Yeah. She wore some rings to sleep, and one of her rings got stuck, and her finger got really swollen. And I was out doing other stuff, and she called me freaked out.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fun having kids.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, we can end it there. Yeah,
Okay.
no, this has been a long time coming. It was really cool to finally have you on. It was just last episode that when we read the podiums, and I'm like, I think I should reach out to Chloe and have her on. So glad it worked out.
Thank you. I love it. It's beautiful. Yeah, my other goal this year is to try to beat my podiums from last year, because last year I got 13 overall wins. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's see if we can do better this year. We're off to a good start.